Hello friends, Heidi here from Rain Country. God is good all the time. And I'm here already, at least it feels like already, for another this and that video. Let me get started by showing you what I'm dehydrating today. Now keep in mind, again, I'm very far ahead on my videos, so the day that I'm actually shooting this video is May 16th, but it'll be middle of June before you see it. So today I've harvested some thyme. I have 3 different kinds of thyme, and I'm going to show you some pictures right here. And my favorite one is this bigger leaf thyme, and I already forgot the name of it, but I have it out there somewhere. I think I left the tag on one of them. I plan on getting at least one more of these plants because I like it so much. And then there's this lighter colored one. This was actually my favorite one until I got the bigger one. And I just love the taste and the smell of these. And then my other one is not quite so much my favorite. I don't know what it's called. It's just plain green. It doesn't have any other color on it like these other ones, but it seems to be growing pretty good. I only have one of those where I have 2 of each of the others, but the one with the bigger leaves seems to be the hardiest one I have so far. So I'd like to get one more of those. It still has a very strong and delicious flavor. And so anyway, these will be going on my dehydrator today. And then something new is I just learned that, okay, my Valerian, you know, my Valerian plant, the main one, the bigger one that I have out front, it's about 3 feet tall right now. It's getting ready to bloom. Here's a picture of it right here. But I just learned, and I've been meaning to look it up for a while, but Charity said something in a comment under a video I just put out today, that just published today, that reminded me I was gonna look up to see if the leaves were usable on the Valerian plant as well, and not just the roots. And come to find out, yes, all the aerial parts are usable, as are the roots. And so this actually is a marshmallow. So I'll get to the Valerian here in just a minute. I did decide while I was out there to start cutting back my marshmallow, because the marshmallow right at the front of the house, I don't want it to get, or actually at the front of our big rec room, I don't want that one to get too tall. I want to keep it shorter, like down to here. And so I'm going to keep cutting the tops off, and that will actually make it bush out more so I can get more leaves off of it. So I decided to get started on harvesting the leaves and getting them dried up, because I go through a lot of marshmallow leaves through the year, because I use them in soaps, I use them in skin cream, I use them in teas. I just use them in a lot of stuff. But I use the roots too. But you know, it's just like the Valerian, the echinacea. I like to give the plant plenty of time to develop a good hefty root before I harvest the root and use it. So I was really thrilled to find out that, look at all these leaves. This is off just the one. And there's still tons of leaves on there. So anyway, I'll be drying these up so I can use them in various things. And I will be doing a video just on Valerian in the near future, so be watching for that to come out, and I'll talk more about the benefits of Valerian. Most of us know it's good for sleep and relaxation, but it has more uses than just that, including in the leaves. So I'll be talking about that in a future video. So that video isn't out yet, but I do have lots of videos out on marshmallow if you're interested. In fact, I'll go ahead and link to my marshmallow benefits video right there. Okay. So another thing going on is I get garlic in every form. I grow garlic, I buy dehydrated garlic in 2 forms, the granulated form and in the big slices, like I love to get from Mother Earth Products. And but also, now that we finally got our Costco card renewed after what, 6-7 years, and we're going to start making trips occasionally into town, I decided to buy a big bag of peeled fresh garlic so I could ferment it and have it ready to go, which is typically what I do with my own garlic anyway. If I'm not using it immediately out of the garden, then I like to peel it and ferment it, and then it lasts me all year. So I have a video out on how I ferment my garlic using the fermentation starter. This time I'm going to be adding a little more salt to it just to help preserve it for a little bit longer. For some reason, my last garlic got a little slimy. It didn't, it was still good. It just started to get a little slimy. It didn't seem to hold and last quite as long as some of the first garlics that I fermented. Now, anyway, you can check out that video, but I will say this real quick. When you ferment garlic, expect it to turn shades of blue, jade, or turquoise. That is normal. It is just a normal chemical reaction that happens in the fermenting process of garlic. It won't always do it, and not every single one will, but some of them will. And I've had some, I had a picture of it and I don't know what happened, and I didn't have any turn blue out of my last year's one. So hopefully this time it will, so I can get a new picture to put up, because I looked and looked and looked, and somehow that picture I took years ago of the fermented garlic that was starting to turn shades of blue and green, it disappeared. So, but it's a pretty color. It's not like a rotten green. It's like I said, it's like jade or teal or turquoise. So anyway, I'll be using my pineapple fermentation starter to get that going. Okay, so the other thing I have to do is, the other day I roasted a chicken in the solar oven. I have since made some chicken fettuccine, chicken fried rice. I talk about these things and have recipes on these in my video series on making the most of leftovers. And I believe I'm on card number 3. I'll go ahead and link to that right up here. And I believe in that series somewhere I show using the broth to make chicken soup. So in here I have I cooked the bones and what was left of the meat that was on the bones until I got a good, nice, thick, gelatinous broth. It's been sitting in the refrigerator, so it's very thick right now. And I today will be cooking it up and adding various dehydrated goods. Now, one of the things I like in the soup, I find I like better for a mushroom, are these dried shiitake mushrooms. These ones I got from Amazon in a really big bag, and then had to vacuum seal them into big 2 half-gallon jars, because that's how much room it took up. So this one isn't sealed right now because I've been using it, but that's what I recommend. I'll go ahead and link to those below. And one of the other things I really like to add to my soup is my own dehydrated zucchini pieces. This is actually going to be my favorite way now to cut up and dehydrate my zucchini, is just in small pieces, because I feel like I have more options. I can powder them up easy enough. They're small enough that I can throw into just about anything, which I've been doing. So that's going to be my way to dehydrate them from now on. Then some other things. Oh, I think I'm going to use the tomato flakes, but I do have dehydrated tomatoes. If I use the flakes, what it's going to do is make it more of a tomato soup kind of base, rather than just having pieces of tomato in there. So I'm going to do the flakes today in the soup. And then another one of my own dehydrated things is the green beans from our garden from last year. Really like throwing these in soup. And after last year, I kind of got hooked on the dehydrating of the green beans, and I like eating them right out of the jar. They're really good. And then another one is this jar is almost empty, so I'm going to have to pull out another one. I did a video a while back on the Mother Earth products, and one of the things I got in that particular order that I was doing the video on, which I'll link to right here, number 4, is the dehydrated carrots. Because though we can grow carrots okay here, we still haven't got the carrots to a point where we're just getting enough to get us through a year. And so I like to stock up on the dehydrated carrots, because they go in so many things so easily. I like to throw them in my Italian sauces and all kinds of stuff. And also you can powder those up too. So check out, I've got a link below to Mother Earth products. Anyone who orders through that link gets 10% off. I personally really like them. Now, not all their stuff is organic. They do have some organic things available. I know at one time they had the organic strawberries, but now I'm not able to find them. But all their stuff is non-GMO, and including the corn. And so that's one of the things. And this is kind of addictive to eat right out of the jar, as are the carrots. So there's a lot of that stuff I like. And I really like their freeze-dried mushrooms. Those are what I use for making my cream of mushroom sauce base for using to make, you know, a tuna noodle casserole, which usually is never tuna. It's usually salmon or steelhead and things like that. So it's just really good. Or adding to my fettuccine sauce. So anyway, I'll go ahead and show you. I've got pieces of bone and stuff in here. Look how thick this is. So what you're seeing is a lot of bone, a lot of meat. There was actually a lot more meat left on the bones this time around, and I needed to just hurry up and add more water, cook it up into a broth. So today I got to kind of heat this up a little bit so it's more liquid. Then I can strain all the meat and bones out, and then I will pick all the meat off the chicken bones and then put it back into the pan. So typically what I'll do with the bones, because you can't feed cooked chicken bones to dogs. You can feed raw chicken bones, but not cooked. Then what I like to do is I burn them up, and then I put the ashes out in the garden. So make use of them that way. So anyway, that's one of the big things I got to do today. And then I'm going to be making a batch of soap. I've been making soap every day this week because I got to get ahead on my soaps again because they've been selling like crazy. They go in spurts, I noticed. So today is going to be rose calendula and oatmeal. So I'm using rose petals and calendula from my own garden. This one actually has white rose petals. Because one year in 2018, I decided to go ahead and dehydrate up the white ones along with the red ones and put in there. Even though typically I just use the red. But then calendula again from my own garden, and then I've got some oats here I'll be adding, and then plus some little some Now Foods rose absolute. It's not 100% rose oil, it's an absolute, which means it's a blend. It's still pure. It doesn't have synthetic ingredients in it, which is what I try to watch for. Like I made a mistake one time and bought the jasmine oil, not the jasmine absolute. The Now Foods jasmine absolute is pure oils, whereas you just get the jasmine oil, it has synthetic ingredients in it. It's the only one I know of by Now Foods that has synthetic in it, but it says right on the label, so you just got to read the label. So that one I don't use for anything. I don't know what I'll ever do with it. But anyway, the other thing I've got going on is I have just got done making up a batch of deodorant. And so I like deodorant powder myself. We both do. So I make Mr. Rain, his and mine is different. His has a different blend of oils, essential oils just for scent, than mine does. But it's a very simple recipe. And I think I'm on iCard number 5. I'll go ahead and link to that right up here if you want to check it out. But what I do is I mix my ingredients together in a big half-gallon jar, and then I pour it into a quart jar, just like so. And then from there I keep it in a little small 4-ounce jar, and then I just use a makeup brush for applying it. That's how I use it. And it also makes a really great foot powder. You can put it in your socks because the ingredients in it will help absorb extra moisture and help to prevent any fungus and stuff from growing if you have issues with a foot fungus. So anyway, that's that. And boy, I got this full. It's a good thing my jar is almost empty. So what I'll do is I'll put the excess in that because I didn't measure it out when I put it in there. I just poured the ingredients in and kind of eyeballed it. So a little bit extra here. I might be able to shake it down. Oh, look at there. Just barely. Look how full that is. I'll go ahead and put this lid on, but I do need to go fill my little small container. But I just want to get this out of my way so I can continue on. And by the way, all this stuff back here is some of the soap making stuff that I'm going to be doing. And oh, I might be shooting a video on this today. So if I do that, I'll try to get that up soon after this one if you're interested. But I do have other soap making videos. One that involves oatmeal, I know. I can't remember which one it is. It might be the peppermint tea one. Another thing is I recently did a video. Now, please know that the time that I'm actually shooting this video, the video I'm going to mention now hasn't yet published, but it will by the time you see this. So I want you to know that before, I want you to know that right off the bat, because I know you guys are going to have some really great comments, really great suggestions of what to do with fabric scraps. Now, as you know, if you've been following me for any time, I have been for some time using the fabric scraps from my skirts, all the skirts I make, and using the ones that are just too small to make squares out of to wrap my soaps in. And so that's what I've got going on here. Well, this soap is going out in an order today. Now, I came up with this idea like 2 days ago, and I don't know why I didn't think of it sooner, but another great idea I can use all these fabric scraps for, which means I won't be throwing any more out unless they're just ugly scraps. But I can use these as extra wraps for wrapping the soaps, the skin cream, the wood products, because some pieces are longer. These are just short pieces, but I have some pieces that are longer than this that I can just use as extra protective layer to wrap around the different things that I'm shipping off to keep them from getting bumped around. That way I'm not having to spend more money on tissue, colored tissue. Now typically what I'll do, certain things I will use newspaper to wrap stuff in to help save money that way, but I really don't like wrapping things like, you know, like something like this, or Mr. Rain's mortars and pestles, or cutting boards, or anything like that in newspaper. I don't know why, but that just bothers me. I'd rather use a plain brown paper like we get in some of our Amazon packages, but Amazon sadly puts a lot of those plastic bubble things instead. I love it when they put the plain brown paper, because then I've got free packing material when that comes in. But I don't always get that, and I don't like having to buy the tissue. So here's something I can use that's actually even nicer, is the using up my fabric scraps to wrap my various things to ship them off with. I came out with another idea after about 2 days after I made that video, got it all uploaded and stuff. I came up with another idea with fabric scraps of making a surrogate mother for the chicks, and they've been working really good, the surrogate mothers. So I have a video on that. I don't have any more links up here. I will try to remember to link that at the end of this video. And then another thing I forgot to mention in that video was using fabric scraps to wrap, to put over like my vinegars or any types of things I'm fermenting that I want oxygen to get to. Most of the stuff I ferment, I put a lid on, but vinegars I always like to cover. I don't like using coffee filters because, well, you know, you got to toss them out. It's something that's expendable. I like using something I can use again and again and again. So I just use the cloth or the fabric scraps, and then I throw them in the wash and reuse them again and again. Oh, and then one more thing I wanted to show is we finally had a chance to stop at our first garage sale. They didn't have much there that interested us. I can hardly wait for the garage sales to start up here locally. It's usually where we find the best deals, is in our own small town. We've stopped at garage sales in bigger towns and just usually nothing. But we stopped at one when we went to the homesteading fair in Rochester on May 4th. On the way home, we stopped at one, and I picked up this book. And so some of you know that I like to collect good books that would be good child-friendly books or educational books for, you know, whether it be little kids or older kids. And so I thought this was very cool because it's very, not only is it a book that's educational, it's also very three-dimensional. So all about anatomy, and I love it. When I was a kid, we used to have that old Encyclopedia Britannica, and there was a section in one of them on anatomy that had the pages with the clear overlays, and I would go over that thing on time and time again. I was like 8, 9 years old, and I loved looking at that and reading about it and learning about our anatomy. It's very fascinating. So I thought this was even more cool because it has the same basic idea, but it's very tactile. It has, you know, the three-dimensional parts to it. So really, really neat thing that I got. Yeah, I think I paid 25 cents for it. 25 cents for this. So really good deal. But anyway, more garage sales will be coming up soon, and so be watching down the road for garage sale videos or secondhand finds. Usually garage sales, yard sales are the things that we stop at most. And last year we did quite a few videos, so there'll be more coming out this summer with new things that we'll be picking up. And we just love secondhand because I find so many useful things that I need. Sometimes it's finding great fabrics to add to my skirts, and so that's one of the big things I'm always looking for. I always find mason jars, and I almost always grab them, even though I'm to a point now that I think I have probably as much as I could use. I'll probably still be grabbing them because just when you think you have all that you need, all of a sudden you decide to start canning something else or using the jars for something else, and you realize I still don't have enough jars. Or you know somebody else that might be able to use the jars that is just getting into canning. But that is that if you, I hear in the UK it's harder to find these things secondhand, but if you live here in the States, I don't know about Canada, but if you live here in the States, finding mason jars at garage sales, you can do that almost all the time, at least around our area. Every time I go out garage selling, somebody is selling jars. Now, some people ask way too much. I think it's because the people that are selling them never actually canned or bought brand new jars, so they don't know. Like one time I was at a garage sale, and she had just a few jars, no lids, just a few used jars laying around. I asked her how much she wanted for them. These were pint-sized jars, mind you. $2 a jar. I didn't really mean to do this, but it really surprised me so much that I went, and then I felt bad because, you know, I don't like to make people feel bad, but I knew right away she doesn't know how much jars actually cost in the store, because here, even in our small little town, remote town, we can get a box of quart-sized jars for $12. That's $1 a jar with lids. So yeah, anyway, But most of the time I can spend like $2 on, $2 to $3 on a dozen jars, quart-sized jars even. Sometimes I'll spend a little bit more. It just depends on where it's at and who I'm buying from and what other kinds of great deals I might have got from them that day. Because we know most of the people in this town because it's small enough. So anyway, well, I hope you enjoyed my this and that video for today. Don't forget to check out those videos if you're wanting to learn how I do some of this stuff, or watch for the videos coming down the road on other things that you can make or learn about. Okay, thanks for watching. Take care and God bless.